Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
We had a conversation right when I found out that there could be a squatter in the area, and I told him about this.
We didn't have a conversation at all.
We had a phone conversation saying that...
While you were in Japan or before?
While I was in Japan.
Because what's the time difference in Japan? It's
got to be more than 12 hours.
At least.
Yeah.
The whole purpose behind law is to right wrong. I want justice to be something that isn't this foreign concept.
Justice knows no boundaries. The truth will be heard. Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Omar Hartz is suing cabin owner Pete Windsor in the amount of $4,897. He says the defendant owes him a refund for a timeshare he purchased because a squatter was living in it.
All rise, remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. Mr. Hartz, talk to me about this $4,897 over a timeshare. I think it involved someone being in the property that you weren't expecting.
Right. So I had purchased the timeshare from Mr. Windsor here.
So you go up there, and Mr. Windsor, are you a real estate person? Is that your function in this whole thing?
Yeah, I'm the owner of the timeshare.
Oh, you own it?
Yes.
And how did you end up coming in contact with Mr. Hartz?
He contacted me through a website, buytimeshares.com.
I see. And had you seen the property just on the line, or did you actually go and look at it visually?
Well, I've only seen the properties online on the website.
I insisted that he go see the property before making the purchase.
Is that true?
Well, initially, I felt like I was forced to get the property. I had, received the email from Mr. Windsor.
You contacted him?
Yes. He sent me over some emails about the property and whatnot.
Why did you feel like you were forced to get the property?
Well, I felt like I was forced to get the property.
Why?
Because he was saying it was like, so many buyers calling about it and people were looking at it or whatever. So he was on his way out of town.
He was being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Right.
You better get it now. They're flying out the door.
They're flying out the door. So I kind of went for that, and everything seemed okay at the beginning, so.
So you bought the property sight unseen because you felt pressured if you didn't buy it, someone else was going to take it.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
All right. And whose fault was that?
It was my fault in that case, but I felt like he neglected to tell me that there was a squatter living in the home at the time.
Your Honor, I definitely told him. We had a conversation after the initial contract signing.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, there's a squatter in the house.
Yes.
You were aware of the squatter?
I was aware of the squatter after
the
initial contract signing. I was not aware that the squatter was in my apartment or my property.
Do you live in Missouri, or do you live out of state as well?
I work out of state. I was in Japan at the time of this purchase.
Oh, you were out of the country?
Yeah.
But you
could have had someone inform me about the squatter in the house or something. So
the welcoming committee that you thought was saying, "Hey,
right,"
here
was actually,
somebody going, "Get out my yard," and you're like, "That's my place."
Some crazy wild woman just comes out, scaring me and my parents off. I thought it was maybe his ex-wife or something like that, but
And what exactly did she do?
Well, what she did was I heard her footsteps, after me and my parents went inside the home, and we're looking at all the, the stuff on the table. It's like cakes and cookies and coffee and whatnot. So I'm thinking, like I said, I thought it was the welcome wagon, and this lady just comes out with a frying pan, and my parents alert me to move out of the way. So I'm tucking and flipping and ducking.
Well, you're a big boy to be tucking and flipping, I tell you.
Right. So, I'm agile for my size, okay. So I even have to be, so.
Show us.
I'm flipping all out of the way, trying to keep my parents from being hurt because.
Well, if you were in Japan, let me go back to you, and you knew about this person, how is it that you came to know of this person?
I knew about the potential for there to be a squatter in the area.
Based on what?
What's the potential?
Based off,
what does that mean?
A police officer, the police department informed me that there have been reports of squatters in the area.
I didn't get any reports of anything.
I called him after the initial contract we signed.
I can only hear one at a time, so let me go back to you. When did you get the police reports?
It was the day after the contract signing, the first contract signing.
So is it your testimony that prior to you signing the agreement, you had no knowledge of any squatters?
None whatsoever.
That's a lie. He had to know about. He had to know about it because
Why would
How
I
do you know
have
that's
to
a
know?
lie?
I mean, he had to, Your Honor. There's someone living there already. I mean, couldn't he inform me if there was someone there?
When you actually purchased the property, you didn't go the next day out there, did you?
No, I didn't. I went out a few days later, maybe a couple weeks later.
All right. So how long were you in Japan?
I was in Japan on the 13th.
All right. When did you go to the property?
On the 13th.
All right.
When I was not informed that he was in Japan at all.
What leads you to believe that prior to the transaction completing itself, that he knew about this person?
Nothing.
I mean, he had to know about. He had to know about
What
something
leads you to conclude that?
because he neglected to tell me in the contract.
If he's not telling you, that's consistent with him not knowing.
Coming up on America's Court.
We had a conversation right when I found out that there could be a squatter in the area, and I told him about this.
We didn't
I
have
told
a
him
conversation at all.
We had a
He didn't
phone
call me
conversation
at
saying
all.
that
While you were in Japan or before?
while I was in Japan.
Because what's the time difference in Japan? There's a
It's got to be more than 12 hours.
at least.
Yeah.
And later on.
These are chocolate weed brownies.
Yes.
And what was so exciting about that?
Because it's chocolate wheat brownie on it.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. We're back with the case of Omar Hartz, who is suing Pete Windsor for breach of contract.
I'm not saying that he may not have found out at some point, but what are you basing?
I'm basing it on my contract, and the clauses don't say
have
anything about. Yes, I do. It doesn't say anything about any
If he
squatters.
doesn't know about the squatter, the contract would not reflect the squatter.
Okay.
I know you were talking to Deputy Thomas, so let me say it again. Oh, it's a beautiful place. All right, I like
Yeah.
it. The issue here is, in fact, there it is on the plasma. It's very nice.
Oh yeah. Only that it had a wild lady coming out chasing my parents out, looking like a stocky, short Ben Wallace. So I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, that's funny.
I didn't know if I was being set up or what.
We had a conversation right when I found out that there could be a squatter in the area, and I told him about this.
We didn't
I
have
told
a
him
conversation at all.
We had
He
a
didn't
phone
call me
conversation
at
saying
all.
that
While you were in Japan or before?
while I was in Japan.
Because what's the time difference in Japan? There's
It's got to be more than 12 hours.
at least.
Yeah.
What is this that you provided me, sir?
Well, that there is the first contract that we signed, the only contract that I've signed, which was on the, I want to say on 3rd, and those are some emails that he sent to me before I
All right,
purchased.
so let me deal with the emails. So I see you're interested in wanting to purchase the property in the Ozarks. Right now would be the perfect time considering your options. So I don't see anything that's so high pressure or a lot of intensity. Just, I need a decision made within the next few days to make this possible. And then you say, oh, wow, I didn't know spaces fill up that quickly for the summer season.
Right.
You can definitely email me the forms at the above address. I appreciate the heads up. All right, so it sounds like you were good to go.
Right.
All right, and so then we have this contract. Is there any section that talks about there are no encumbrances or any liens or?
It should be on the last page, Your Honor. There was a second contract made after we.
Second contract.
There's nothing that says in here that the property's free and clear from any encumbrances.
Well, we inspected the property during, right after he signed the contract to make sure that it was
Deputy
absolutely
Thomas?
clear.
Yes, sir.
Show me in this agreement that talks about, if you can give it back to
Sure.
The property is free and clear from any mortgages, liens, encumbrances. 1001, 1002.
I don't see it, Your Honor.
He rushed out all the initial papers out to me. I don't understand why he can't find it now.
I wrote a second agreement, and I have it right here.
Show me.
This is the second agreement.
This is the second agreement.
Yes, and on the very last page,
Yes.
page 4, it says the property is free and clear from any and all mortgages, trusts, liens, or any other encumbrances affected title. That was fixed, apparently. Underneath it, we wrote, except for a local squatter known in the area who has regularly attempted to inhabit the property.
He neglected to put that in the contract or
In the first contract because I was not aware.
So you talked about this local squatter. Why is it on this document you say property's free and clear from any and all mortgages, trusts, liens, or other encumbrances? Why
Because
you put in
if
this
he
one?
were to sign that contract, we would go back to the property and ensure that it was
You know what
clear.
this ticking means?
No,
What do you think it means?
not good.
Bingo. Based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel is going to come down in favor of the plaintiff. So your feeling was right. And you will pay for that in the tune of $4,897. That's your judgment. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $4,897.
I'm glad I got my money. The judge ruled in my favor. Just beware of shysters like this guy.
I understand the judge's ruling, but I know for a fact he got that contract.
And coming up on America's Court.
These are chocolate weed brownies.
Yes.
And what was so exciting about that?
Because it's chocolate wheat brownie on it.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Donna Reed is suing her neighbor, Govey Bello, in the amount of $1,100. She says her dog ate the defendant's pot brownie and had to be taken to the vet.
Ms. Reed, we've got this $1,100 in medical bills for your dog.
Yes.
Prove your case.
Well, Judge, Your Honor, my old roommate, Govey Bello over there, he had these weed brownies out. Like he and his girlfriend, Maxie.
Weed brownies?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
He and his girlfriend?
Yeah, his girlfriend, Maxie. Like he
The two
smokes.
of you were roommates?
Yes.
How long?
For a year,
For 1 year.
yes.
Tell me about these weed brownies.
Your Honor, I do have a prescription for anxiety, so I do mostly eat marijuana and I smoke marijuana daily.
He's a pothead, Your Honor.
Well, I do have a...
Well, hold on. Well, you living with a pothead.
Yeah, Your Honor, she used to smoke with us too. The first week, when I first moved in there, the first week, she would come outside and smoke with me and
You
my
ever
girlfriend.
smoked with him before?
Yeah, she has. A week.
When we
I'm
knew
asking
each
her.
other, like,
My
we've known
question
each
was
other for
very
like 2
simple.
years ago.
You know, why is it that people make complicated answers to simple questions? Have you ever smoked weed with him? Yes or no?
Yes, but it was before we moved in together.
Okay. So again, complicated. Yes.
Yes. I have a job now, and I don't smoke weed anymore.
Okay.
And he has a job, but he still smokes, so, you know.
All right. And
Every day.
And you're saying, you know, more and more, and I've talked about this on other occasions, this whole issue of marijuana and where people are with it, I mean, it's becoming more and more mainstream. I don't indulge, yet society seems to be saying we're going to kind of loosen it up.
Right.
So the stigma is not what it used to be, but it's still illegal. But that's not really why we're here. It's not the illegality, it's the fact that the dog ate it, right?
Yeah, and
Isn't that
that's
what
like
happened?
my baby.
Coming up on America's Court.
These are chocolate weed brownies.
Yes.
And what was so exciting about that?
Because it's chocolate wheat brownie on it.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. We're back with the case of Donna Reed, who is suing Govey Bello for negligence.
And what type of breed?
She's a beagle.
How big is she?
Well, right now she's about a year old, so.
I'm saying in terms of size.
Well, then
You
she
have a
was
picture
real
of her or
small, but
anything?
now she's like, yeah, I actually have a picture.
Yeah, come on, you know I gotta see
Give me
her.
everything you got. That's a muffin.
Is that a muffin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was taken after we got her
The
from the hospital.
name fits her. The name fits her. So, and she doesn't look very big.
No.
And how did she, to what extent did she consume the brownie?
Well, they had 2 brownies, and she ate both of them.
Which I understand, Your Honor. We were supposed to keep the door closed,
The door to the house?
The door to my room. So that's supposed to stay closed.
So you're the owner of Muffin. He smokes weed. We know that. So I take it that that's what this is about, because she ate something in your room because the door was open.
Well, the door was closed technically. Just the fact that the knob wasn't fixed.
So the issue, so where does the chocolate come into play?
Okay, well, this particular Friday night,
Yes.
I came home and he and Maxie were outside smoking.
Who's Maxie?
His girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, we were smoking outside, and
They smoke every day.
Why is that important for me to know?
Well, when I got home, they were all excited because they had just bought the brownies. She works at a dispensary, so they had just gotten a pack of brownies for the concert that they were going to on that
So these
Saturday.
are chocolate weed brownies.
Yes.
And what was so exciting about that?
because it's chocolate wheat brownie on it.
I understand.
Muffin was out there with them, like when I got home, and they showed me the brownies.
Muffin was out there with them around the weed area.
Yes.
So the dog at this point, what is the dog get a little contact or something? Because, I mean, if he's doing it every day and the dog is there and you know that, so I'm looking at you as an owner going, well, you must be okay with how this dog is being subjected to a door that's regularly open. You know that the dog likes to chew on things. You know they smoke weed. So at what point do you say, okay, well, maybe Muffin needs to be crated, or maybe I need to go get some obedience lessons to make sure that, you know, she's within certain confines, because
Muffin
dogs
is still a
respond to the
puppy.
human, right? So if you're letting her just run around the house and you know these conditions exist, well, you're unnoticed, right?
Yeah.
And so I take it that at some point these brownies and Muffin, pun intended, had a party.
Yeah.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. You're watching America's Court with Judge Ross. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
So here's what I have. I have people who have a long history. Because if you're living together for about a year, that's long enough to kind of know people's patterns. Your testimony was he would never close that door. You know you have a dog that's been in that room while he wasn't there. But your stuff was also subject to Muffin getting hold of them. So does it make sense for me to hold Mr. Bello to this higher standard? That's the issue. And based on the evidence and testimony before this court, the gavel has to come down in favor of the defendant. Because the reasonable standard is the one that you set. He's acting the way you're acting. Your matter is dismissed. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
I'm glad Muffin survived, and I still think that Govey's responsible.
I'm sorry what happened to Muffin, and I hope Donna and I can remain friends.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of Entertainment Studio.